Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you 5 must-read books of 2022, or books that you have to read no matter if you're into reading or not. I guarantee you one of these books will do it for you. They're my favorite books ever. I've used to get into reading a lot, and then I've gone to reading again, and I'm so excited to share with you some of my favorite books. You're currently in my closet because I wanted to change scenery. I am quarantined for a few days, so I thought I would just be here instead of being in my bed or desk. So I'm just gonna go in a random order. I'm gonna start off with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I love this book so much. It is a mystery book. It's where this girl, her name is Pip, she for her senior project, she decides to research about this case that happened in her hometown like 5 years ago with this boy named Sal Singh, where he supposedly murdered murdered his girlfriend Andy Bell, and she gets into it with Sal, the supposed murderer, with his younger brother, and they solve this case together, and it's very interesting. There's a lot of like plot twists. So if you want to find like a mystery book, this is definitely the book for you. I'm gonna read part 2 soon. I read this in the first week of December, I think. It's so good. It is 385 pages, and there's a second part called Good Girl Bad Blood, but this is so good. I rated it a 4 out of 5. It's very interesting, a lot of plot twists, and the characters are really interesting, and I love how good it is. Like, it's a very huge plot twist in the end. So the next book would probably be Beach Read by Emily Henry. This book is a romance, but so I'll just read the back to you because I had a hard time explaining this book. It says, Augustus Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction. January Andrews writes best-selling romances. When she pens A Happily Ever After, he kills off the entire cast. They're polar opposites. So these two are neighbors, Augustus Everett and January Andrews, on their neighbors at their lake house. So they live near a lake. And they meet each other, and they decide, since they're both authors, that they're gonna write like their opposite genres. Like for example, January, she's a romance author, and Augustus, he is like a fiction author, like fantasy and stuff like that. So they wrote, and it's really interesting. They become friends, and it shows a few things along the way of how they challenge each other to write these books. I know that wasn't the best job at explaining it, but it's very, very interesting, and it's so cute. It has 358 pages, and I love the ending. It's very, very nice, so I totally recommend. I rated this like a 4.5 out of 5. And I rated the other book a 5 out of 5. The next one is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now let me tell you, I just read this book not yesterday, the day before. So it was a Saturday, and it is possibly one of my favorite books I've ever read. Probably like coming in second place. I'll show first place in the end of the video. But this whole time I was reading this, I could feel like how the character felt, and everything felt like so real. The author is so good, like amazing at writing this. And basically it's about it's about this girl. Her name is Monique, and she's a reporter, and she gets offered to write this a report about this very, 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 at the time, like one of the highest paid actors of all time. She gets hired to write a report about Evelyn Hugo. And so, but what it turns out, when she comes, it turns out Evelyn Hugo's like, no, you're gonna write a basically an autobiography about me, or biography about me. And so she tells her like her whole life story and about each of her 7 husbands, and it's so interesting. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter if you're into reading or not, this book will literally change like your whole perspective, and it's so good. The plot twist, everything is crazy, and how like all her experiences in her life. And this book, 20 out of 10. It's the best. Like what she experiences, it's like you can feel it, and the ending is very sad, but then like good at the same time. Like it's a sad ending, but like you accept it. It's like, wow, that's crazy of how like crazy her life is. And it feels like there's some examples in there that like people do in real day Hollywood, but we just might not know, if you mean. Like once you read this book, you'll understand. This is probably one of the best books ever, and I'm so excited to get more books from this author, Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is genuinely amazing. Words cannot describe how good this book is. So, oh my god, I'm so sorry. The 4th book is Verity by Colleen Hoover. If you're on TikTok, I'm sure you've at least heard of Colleen Hoover. If you haven't, she is a very popular author. So this book, it's about this author. Her name is Lowen, and she gets offered this job to write books for this author called Verity, because Verity is like, she's very popular as an author, but she got sick and cannot finish the series that she's been writing. And so they're like, I want you to finish the series for Verity, and we'll pay you, I think it's a lot, I think it's like $500,000 or $1 million. And because like Verity was like a really popular author. So Lowen agrees, and she goes to Verity's cabin, which Jeremy, Verity's husband, still lives, along with Verity's son, who is, I believe, 5 years old, and Verity, who is like paralyzed, so she can't speak or talk or anything. And so she's in Verity's office, trying to read facts to see and do research about the book that she needs to write to finish off her series. But she finds this autobiography that Verity wrote, and like she secretly reads it, and she finds like the most crazy things about her, and like the house is like, she finds weird things in the house too, and it's crazy. Like, she's reading this autobiography and you get to read it too, and like Verity writes it in her perspective, obviously, because it's an autobiography, and you get to see what happens, and there's a lot. And this is probably 3rd place in my book list. A lot of stuff that happened, and it's just so shocking. And the ending, it's left on a plot twist, and there's not going to be like a sequel, but this book will change you. It's like, don't read it at night. But the way she writes it, the way Colleen Hoover writes it, is just phenomenal. Like, I totally recommend. Okay, so the final book, in 1st place of my favorite book of all time, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Probably, like, I've seen on TikTok, it's our favorite book of all time, like Book Talks book. It's about this, I'm not good at explaining most things in general, like most books, so I'm trying my best. But it's about this girl, her name is Lily, and so in the beginning, like, she meets this guy on the rooftop, and they have a conversation, and the book, it tells us about her childhood a little bit. Her dad had just died, but her dad was like abusive to her mom, and oh my god, sorry, And she tells that to this guy, and she's like, oh yeah, they're having this really good conversation, like, oh yeah. And then I had to like speak at his funeral, and then he tells his, like, the guy she met, he tells her his darkest secret, deepest darkest secret. And then 9 months later, oh sorry, side note, she had also told him, also my dream is like to own a flower shop. I know it sounds dumb because my name is Lily, but I would really like to. Like, I think it's like 9 months later, she opens the flower shop, and then one day she meets this girl. I don't remember her name. I think, yeah, Alyssa. So she meets Alyssa, and so they become friends, and Alyssa starts to work at Lily's flower shop. And then Lily gets hurt, and Alyssa calls her brother over, and her brother is Ryle, the guy she met on the rooftop 9 months ago. And they end up dating, and many plot twists. I know I've said that for like these past few books. It's just very hard for me to say stuff without spoiling it. And then it also talks about, but in between that, it shows parts of her diary that she wrote as a high schooler, I think, and about this guy also named Atlas, and her friendship with him, and things that happened. And it's just truly crazy of the things that happen. It's not a romance. I don't even know how to describe it. There is romance in the book, but truly, definitely read this book. It's probably one of my favorites. I know I definitely didn't explain that too good, but I just didn't want to reveal any spoilers. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and those are my top 5 reads that you should read in 2022. I hope you liked this video, and let me know if you want more book related videos to come, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.